Okay everybody, here we go. I've just put some masking tape across the tweeters here so that you can see that they are just held in place so they don't rattle around anywhere while we move on to this next phase, which is the upper mid-range. So again, wires are all tucked in nicely. Here's our driver, our upper mid-range driver. Obviously we want the binding posts to be facing down the bottom. So we just slide this in here, and of course all the engineering's been done for us, so we know everything lines up. I am using stainless steel dome head bolts here instead of screws. So we'll put the 4 of these in place here, like so, and they will comfortably sit in there very nicely, like so, and you can see they're in place. So now I will stand this up, and hopefully what I can do is put a bit of weight on here to hold this up. We'll turn the camera up a little bit so you guys can see what's happening here. And there's our driver in place. So what we'll next do is we'll put some washers, and I'm using a little dome head nut on the back here. So we'll just put these in and get a little start on them. Next washer, all stainless steel. Next nut on the top. We just want this looking as pretty as we possibly can get it, and of course with bolts that run right through the sandwich aluminium Panzerholz, we can get a great sort of bite down onto the material and get the driver to be completely still and not moving around. So there you go. You can see, if we have a look there, that's our driver sat in place. There are our wires down the bottom there, which will be soon soldered or soldered in place. And I'll do all of that and then show you a close-up of all of that once it's finished. Okay, so here we go. The upper mid-range is now in place. You can see the wiring. Focus in on it. There's the positive there and the negative there. And as you can see, when we go around here and have a look at this, this is all back flush, really in behind the baffle material. So you've really got to solder or solder this in with the driver away from the baffle. And if we come around here, you can see the bolts in place. The upper mid-range is not tightened in, but it's in there to the point where, you know, it's fixed in place. And you can see the wiring in there. It's very, very difficult to see. There's not much wiring at all. Nothing's hampering anything. And that wire's just sat there in place through the channel. So that is the upper mid-range in place, and we'll move on to the lower mid-range next. Okay, here we go. So now we have the lower mid-range driver, which we will place in the baffle here. So obviously we line our holes up and set the driver in place like so. And then of course we are using the same M4. The other bolts here were M5 in the upper mid-range. These are M4 bolts. So we'll just slide those in there and drop them down. Same thing applies, we just line them up. Might be a little bit difficult to pop in these ones. So let's just make sure we've got a good okay, so here we go. All the lower mid-range bolts are in place, as you can see here. They would just slid them down and drop them in place. And as you can see from the back, we will now place some M5 washers over those bolts, like so. Work our way around. Making sure we don't drop anything. Place them all in there like that. And then our M5 captured nut is in place like so. We just do those up loosely for starters. Work our way around, as you can see. Oops. Lucky last. And there you have it. They are all in place, looking $1 million. Next thing to do will be to pick the wiring up there, which I'll do, and then I'll get back to you and show you the finished drivers in place. Okay, let's have a little pan around and show you everything in place. So tweeters obviously are all done and just sitting in there taped in place. There's our bolts running around, wiring popping up there, and then there is all the wiring now done and in place. And there is the next stage will be to do the distribution block here and put all our wires in. I'll put some heat shrink and designate which wire runs to which, so that we know, and I'll show you that. And that'll be the last little part of the driver installation into the baffle. Okay, so here we go. I've stripped all the wiring. I've designated the yellow band here with heat shrink for the tweeter. The blue is for the upper mid-range, and the green is for the lower mid-range. So we know which wires are which. Everything's stripped now and ready for. Got nice high purity silver solder or solder, wherever you're from, and those three are done. So I'll just do the other three now, and then all the wiring essentially is done. I'll glue the tweeters in place and torque up the bolts. I'm also going to put a little bit of Loctite underneath all these bolts and then tighten them up so that they don't move after they are torqued into position. So that should see that side of things done. The next thing we'll be doing is rewiring the bridges with exactly the same wire. This wire up here, all of this wire will continue down in through the bridges down to the binding post, which I'll show you on the next step of this.